Well, it's been a while since you heard from me, but I'm back to making videos now, and today we're talking about the Buffalo Sabres and what's next for them after firing GM Jason Botterill and a big chunk of their hockey operations. They fired their director amateur scouting in Ryan Jankowski and a bunch of their amateur staff as well, and down in the AHL there was a huge purge in Rochester. The GM, head coach and assistant coaches were fired, and geez, there's so much going on in Buffalo right now and it's not good. I'll be talking about the Eichel comments that were made a few weeks ago later in the video, but for now, let's focus on the firing of Jason Botterill and the people behind the firing, the dreaded Pegulas. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this because last month, Kim Pegula went on and said that Botterill would come back for a fourth season, and saying they saw positives in the inner workings. Now, what those positives could be, I don't think anyone knows, and it's clearly changed anyway because he's gone now. And there was a press conference over Zoom on the Sabres Twitter where the Pegulas were asked about what changed, and they gave an answer where they basically said that they've had more time to think about the future and blah blah blah. The Pegulas suck. I know this isn't breaking news, but holy, they are so bad. They took ownership of the Sabres in February of 2011, and since then they have been god awful. Last in points percentage, and that record is just, yeah. The Sabres have not been a good team, and it hasn't gotten any better during the Pegulas' reign. To start, they haven't made the playoffs. Well, actually, they made the 2011 playoffs where they lost in 7 games in the first round, but that was the season the Pegulas took over, so counting from 2011-12, they haven't been close to the playoffs. And another thing that I find really weird and quite interesting is that Sabre fans hate the Pegulas. They think they suck and have no idea what they're doing, they shouldn't be in hockey. But the Pegulas who also own the Buffalo Bills, and I don't follow American football, but from what I'm reading on forums and on Twitter and all that, it seems like Bills fans are quite happy with the Pegulas and that they're in a better place now. But I want to focus on Jason Botterill for a moment. This guy. Name me one good trade he's made, name me one good signing or one good draft pick that isn't Rasmus Dahlin that he's made. I can't, because if he's made a good trade, he's made that player he traded for into a bad contract extension, basically making that trade null and void. And yeah, I'm talking about the Jeff Skinner deal. Now the trade itself wasn't bad in my opinion. Skinner was a solid 50 points, 30 goal scorer kind of player, and giving up Cliff Pooh, who hasn't been that amazing, and a few draft picks who can turn out to be good, we don't know yet. But the Sabres needed goal scoring and they got it, and Skinner delivered. In his first season he scored 40 goals. Great. But he was a UFA, so he needed a new contract. $9 million, 8 years. Nope, this is a bad deal. Especially when you score 14 goals the following season. You all know this story, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's the only good trade that I can think of that Botterill has made, and he even managed to screw that up by giving out what's now one of the worst contracts in the NHL. And the rest of his moves have been, well, the Ryan O'Reilly trade needed to happen because of the comments he made, but the haul the Sabres got for him was not good enough, and obviously Ryan O'Reilly went on to win a Stanley Cup. The Evander Kane trade needed to happen as well, so I'm not going to blame Botterill completely on that, but looking at his trade history with the Sabres, it's not very flattering. But okay, let's focus on Jack Eichel for a moment. Now this is a player that I rate very highly. He's among the elite in the NHL, he's one of my favorite players, and he is just incredible, but he hasn't been to the playoffs yet. He's been in NHL for 5 seasons now and has gotten better and better each year, and meanwhile the Sabres haven't really done anything. You would think the Sabres would improve as he improves, but not really. And when it comes out with these comments, you've probably heard them already, but I just need to talk about them. He said, "Listen, I'm fed up with losing and I'm frustrated." And this isn't frustration from this season, this is 5 years of frustration of losing that is starting to boil over now. And I don't blame him. I don't think anyone does. Losing and losing and losing and not getting anywhere will make anyone sick and tired, and it's getting to a point where the possibility of an Eichel trade isn't out of the realm of possibilities. And the clock is ticking. Another season or 2 of this and I genuinely think he'll be gone. He's still got 6 years left on his deal, and when you look into the immediate future for the Sabres, it doesn't look that amazing. Of course, this is subject to change after the draft, where they can get lucky and land on Self Lafreniere or Byfield or maybe Lucas Raymond or Marco Rossi, all praise that would make them better, especially Lafreniere obviously, but it still wouldn't make them a playoff team. I think they need more than just one good forward. But obviously Lafreniere would definitely help them, and seeing Eichel and Lafreniere together on one line would be awesome, but they still need to sort out their goaltending. Yeah, they have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the system, but he's not ready yet, and I don't think Ullmark or Hutton are good enough to carry a team. The Sabres certainly have some of the key pieces in place already. They have Eichel, who they obviously need to hold on to unless they get an absolute insane offer. They have Rasmus Dahlin, who is going to be their franchise defenseman for the next 10-15 years. They have some good wingers. Sam Reinhart is good, and we saw the emergence of Victor Olofsson, who scored 20 goals. They have some good prospects. I mentioned Luukkonen, but they also have Dylan Cousins as a center for the future. Casey Middlestad is still young and can be good, and yeah, we can talk about how right now he looks like a bust, but I still have belief in him, and like I said, they can get lucky in the draft lottery this year, and even if they don't and draft at 7th, they can still get a really good prospect, seeing how deep this year's draft is. But what the Sabres need is stability. They need a GM who will be there long term and who knows what he's doing. Now they brought in Kevin Adams as their new GM, making him the 4th general manager under the Pegulas, and that right there is a problem. When the Pegulas took over in 2011, Darcy Regier was the GM, and he was their GM until 2013, so he was there for 16 years, which is a good solid run. And they went to Stanley Cup final in 1999, and obviously the team changed a lot during his time, but still, a good run. Then Tim Murray took over. He drafted Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, and a few other players, but at the end of the day, no playoffs appearance, no nothing. After that, they got Jason Botterill, who we already talked about. He didn't make the playoffs, and now we're here with Kevin Adams. I'm not sure how he'll do. He's been in the Sabres organization for a while, so I guess he knows the team, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of moves he'll make once the offseason gets underway. And when you look at the coaches since the Pegulas took over, it's even worse. Lindy Ruff was there when they took over and was fired in 2013, and after that it's been a disaster. None of the 5 coaches have had a record above 500. And when you look at the Eichel era in Buffalo, he's played under 3 coaches already. Rasmus Dahlin, who's been in the league for just 2 seasons, has played under 2 coaches already. Different coaches have different systems and ways of coaching, and it can't be easy having to readjust to that. And especially when you're a young player and a young team, you need to find an identity, you need to find a harmony in the team, and that will permeate through the entire organization. And once you have that, you can shed the losing culture and winning will come naturally. That won't happen when your organization is the embodiment of a turnstile. I think the problem in Buffalo is deeper than not having a good enough defense or the bottom 6 not being deep enough. Sure, they don't have the personnel to challenge for a cup or a top spot in their division, but right now, they're not challenging for anything, they're just treading water. And yeah, I know, with this new playoff format, the Sabres were just 1 game away from making the playoffs because they were playing the Habs next, and if they win that game, they make the cut instead of the Habs. But 1, if the season continued as normal, they would have already realistically been out of the playoffs, and 2, I don't see it as an excuse since this 24 playoff team format is stupid to me, and I think it's a gimmick, but that's for another discussion. So what should the Sabres do? Well, the number 1 priority is to get stability. Don't fire Ralph Krueger if he has another bad season. Let him build his team and system and get players that are willing to buy into his system. I'm not saying Krueger's system is the way to go for the next 5-10 years, but I sound like a broken record when I say this. They need stability. If someone doesn't want to be there, trade them. We saw it with Ryan O'Reilly, but learn from that trade. By all means, trade them, but don't trade them for essentially a bag of pucks. If we're talking about Jack Eichel, don't trade him. Unless there's an insane offer you can't refuse, like 4 top 6 players where at least one of them is a bona fide superstar. I can't think of many scenarios where this happens, but that's the point. You don't trade him. Same goes with Dahlin. Him and Eichel are the 2 untouchables on this team. The rest can be traded and it wouldn't be a disaster. And I don't think they should aim for mainly draft picks if they do decide to trade a chunk of their players. They should be winning now or in a few seasons, and the draft picks won't develop for a good while, so there's that. But if you're gonna have draft picks, make sure you have more picks than there are rounds. So, those are my thoughts on the ever-struggling Sabres. I still have some belief in this team. They have the spine in Eichel and Dahlin. They have some nice top 6 players, so they shouldn't be this bad. I'm not saying they should be competing for cups, but they should be competing for and getting into the playoffs. And once there, anything can happen. So if I can leave one word for the Sabres to take with them, it would be stability. That's my key for success. So what do you guys think? Do you have any hope for the Sabres left? Let me know in the comments below, and I thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.